Let's get right into it with this wannabe Grim Reaper who burst into the footage wielding a scythe. Apparently, this incident took place in Brazil, near the Alto da Gramina neighborhood in Limeira. You can't see it, but the man is wielding the weapon at the door of a private school, which just so happens to be guarded by a security officer. A security officer with a gun. After making a few threatening moves, it becomes apparent that the man is talking to someone. Then, we see the security guard emerge with the gun pointed right at the attacker's head. After several tense moments, the man seems to walk off. However, he quickly turns around and attacks the security guard, who opens fire. Thanks to adrenaline, the attacker is able to get a few meters away despite his injuries. Less than a minute later, he collapses to the ground. At least the dog is okay. There are lots of things in this world that qualify as weapons. Clearly, we've just seen that scythes are one of them. But this man in Philadelphia has an even more unique approach. A dirty hypodermic needle. Footage shows him entering a Wawa convenience store with his face partially covered by a scarf and hat. After shuffling around for a few seconds, he points the dirty needle at the clerk and demands money from the register. Unsure of what to do, the clerk just gives in to his demands. I mean, who knows what could be in the needle or on it? Most clerks are trained that no amount of money is worth their life. The robber made off with an unknown amount of money and remains on the loop to this day. Sorry, Elon, but your cars work about as well as your website nowadays. This video shows a Chinese Tesla driver attempting to park a car only to have the electric vehicle malfunction and take off down the road at very high speeds. CCTV footage from around the city shows the car almost literally flying around corners and through intersections, presumably while the 55-year-old driver is frantically trying to maintain control. As he would later state, the brake pedal would not respond no matter what he did. Fortunately, the out-of-control car finally crashes into a building, but not before inadvertently killing 2 people and injuring another 3 during the robotic rampage. Tesla said it was working with Chinese authorities to identify what really happened, but has not admitted blame just yet. Here's a terrifying video for you. It shows an 11-year-old girl in Los Angeles being approached by a creepy man who can be seen literally rushing across the street to catch up with her. Luckily, a neighbor is watching and shouts, "Leave her alone," just in time.
Hey, leave her alone!
Suddenly realizing he's being watched, the man turns around and walks away defiantly before getting in his car and driving away. It's a good thing this vigilant woman was on guard, because who knows what would have happened to this poor girl otherwise. Let's take a trip back to Florida, this time to the city of Riverview. CCTV footage shows a man with several arrest warrants walking around near some high school students in their cars. Apparently, there had been a fight between two girls moments earlier, and the man had become involved. What they didn't know was that he was holding a loaded gun behind his back. Moments later, the man starts shooting wildly at the cars, sending people all over the street running for their lives. The incident took place outside Spoto High School and, miraculously, nobody was hurt. The man, who was just 24 years old, was also arrested and charged for this and several other crimes. This is one of the wildest and most tragic videos we've seen. A 23-year-old man in Hyderabad, India, was staying at the VV Pride Hotel with his family when we walked around a corner to find a dog. For some reason, the man then decided to chase the dog through the hotel hallways, but that's where things took an even worse turn. As the young man ran down the hall, he failed to realize that the window in front of him was actually open. As he approached it, his feet slipped, sending him toppling out into the street 3 stories below. Other people in the hotel quickly reacted but were unable to do anything to save the man, who now lies on the street. Though he was rushed to a nearby hospital, doctors declared him dead on arrival. In what is quite possibly one of the wildest traffic videos ever, a couple in a red Pontiac Grand Prix are being pulled over by a police officer. Apparently, they had been driving erratically, and the officer had found both drugs and drug paraphernalia in the car. That's not the crazy part. In an attempt to escape while the officer is distracted, the woman nearly drags the poor cop into traffic. But as she takes off down the road, she soon realizes that she has nowhere to go. Inebriated and clearly not thinking straight, the woman ended up literally splitting the car in two after colliding with a box truck. Apparently, she had had a warrant out of Illinois, which likely was why she tried to get away. Instead, she ended up in a hospital. This video is short, but it is still one of the craziest things we've ever seen on this channel. As if it was ripped straight from a Looney Tunes segment, the footage shows an Indian woman walking across the street when suddenly a massive water tank falls right on top of her. If this were an anvil or a piano like in the cartoons, you'd rightfully expect her to be in pretty bad shape. However, the tank is actually empty. So when passerby rush to her aid, they're relieved to see her completely unharmed. She even pops her head out of the giant rain barrel as if to say, "Oh, what the heck was that?" As the video poster commented, this is apparently one of those only in India moments. Let's move over to Clarksville, Tennessee, where a 78-year-old woman has just arrived at a Baptist church for a prayer meeting. Suddenly, two young women come to join the woman, one sitting in front of her and one sitting behind her. The woman in front then asks the woman to pray with her, bowing her head. As this happens, the second woman reaches into the older woman's bag, takes out her wallet, and grabs all the cash and credit cards from inside before putting the empty wallet back. Talk about lowest of the low. The woman then went on a $7,000 shopping spree. Fortunately, they were caught, and hopefully they'll end up with both a punishment on Earth and one in the afterlife. It's no secret that New York City is a wild place, but imagine you're just sitting there minding your own business and this happens. CCTV footage shows a 66-year-old man sitting at an outdoor table on West 58th Street in Midtown when a youngster wearing a backpack strolls up, picks up a chair, and chucks it right at the man's head. Injured and surprised, the man drops his phone on the street, which the suspect then grabs before running off down the road. The victim was treated for a broken bone in his forearm but was otherwise okay. The police, meanwhile, are still searching for the suspect who perpetrated this terrible crime. Imagine all that for a phone you could only pawn for a few dozen bucks. Here's another bizarre video from Brazil, this time in the upscale neighborhood of Belo Horizonte in Lourdes. The footage shows a 50-year-old clinic woman just straying down the sidewalk outside of a nearby home when a jogger runs up with his dog and begins talking to her. All of a sudden, he rips the hose from her hand and begins dousing her head. As the two struggle for the hose, the older woman ends up getting knocked to the ground. The cleaning lady injured her knee but was otherwise okay. When she reported the incident, she said that the man was angry at her for wasting water, even though she was just doing her job. While conservation is definitely an important thing to consider, this is hardly the right way to go about it. Just when you thought that people couldn't sink any lower, check out this New York City video of a 68-year-old man being robbed in an apartment lobby. CCTV footage shows a younger man waiting in the corner when the older gentleman strolls up and calls the elevator. The younger man then pulls a knife and accosts the victim. Looking through his belongings before finally finding something of value and escaping. All of this was done for just $13, and the man is still on the run. Luckily, the elderly man was unhurt and nothing was stolen aside from the money. Imagine throwing your life away for barely enough money to buy lunch, especially in New York. When you're in public, you need to think. This insane video proves just how quickly abnormal activity like riding down an escalator can go wrong. Footage shows a woman standing at the top of an escalator in Shanghai, China. She and her companion are attempting to handle their luggage but appear to be having some difficulties. That's when the woman loses control of her suitcase in her hand, leaving her to stand there and watch as it descends down the moving staircase. Of course, the pair quickly realize that this isn't going to end well. That's when the camera flips to the poor woman at the bottom of the escalator. She hears the suitcase fall over and turns just in time to see it come racing towards her. She tries to run but is instead bowled over by the out-of-control luggage. Fortunately, she only sustained minor injuries.
What the? No! Shoot me!
Carjackings and robberies are an unfortunate reality of living in the city. However, this video shows that some people are so over the threats that they just stand up to would-be thieves. Take this woman, for instance. When approached by a potential thief who clearly scares her nearly to death, she gets angry instead. She even dares the young man, who appears to be hardly out of his teens, to shoot her. Amazingly, she just stands there in the middle of the street, taunting the kid while he backs away, clearly confused. It just goes to show that robbers really only expect one type of reaction from their victims. If you stand up to them, they will sometimes be so surprised that they'll just back down. Of course, it's always safer to just relinquish your property and live to file a police report. This looks like a scene from some action movie, but is actually just CCTV footage from some food trucks that were robbed in the Houston, Texas area. They showed the suspect armed with a sawed-off shotgun robbing a series of 12 trucks over the course of about 2 weeks. What's crazy about this, other than the fact that he is so dedicated to robbing these specific businesses, is that the person doesn't wear any sort of mask or head covering. He seems to take no interest in protecting his identity either, because he doesn't think food trucks have cameras inside of them. Well, he was wrong. Now, the police are hunting for him all over the city, and they're even offering $5,000 to anyone who can bring him to justice.
I'm Sergeant Ramsey. I'm the one that called you. Thank you for coming. I'm sorry to call you. Listen, we had a report of a disturbance at your house, and there were shots fired. Is your husband Michael? Okay, I'm sorry to tell you, ma'am. He's been killed. He's been killed, ma'am. I'm sorry.
No, he's not.
Listen.
No.
This super disturbing footage shows a young woman named Dalia DiPolito being told that her husband is no longer alive. At first, it seems like a terrible thing to be watching, but there's a catch. Dalia is faking. She actually hired a hitman to kill her husband and make it look like a break-in gone wrong.
No.
Try to calm down.
No.
Listen,
No.
right now we need to get you to the station.
No.
We need to get you to our police station.
I want to see him.
I can't let you stand, man. We have to do our job. If you want us to find this killer, okay? We need you to calm down. I'm gonna need you to go with these detectives, okay?
However, as is almost always the case when you're talking to a supposed hitman, the contract killer was actually an undercover police officer. So, while she's crying her crocodile tears, her husband is sitting in a van watching the whole thing go down. Moments after this video, she is arrested.
Need you to go with these detectives, okay? Does he have enemies? Is there anyone that would want to hurt him? Okay, who would want to hurt him? Witnesses said they saw a black male running from me. I can't let you see him, ma'am. Ma'am, I cannot do this right now. Ma'am, I can't do it. Detective Yopi.
2209, 11th Street Southeast.
As dangerous as wild animals can be, the number one threat to humans is still, you guessed it, other humans. Take this footage from Alabama, which shows a man speeding in his Jeep and attempting to run over an off-duty police officer who just barely escapes into his home. In fact, the man who tried to run him over actually chases after him for a few moments before realizing that the officer is about to charge after him. Even with a gun pointed at his head, the assailant gets into his vehicle and backs it up, attempting to run over the officer a second time while bullets rain into the front of his Jeep. According to the charges filed against the perpetrator, the officer noticed a black Jeep Wrangler sitting in front of his home and asked the man if he needed help. The driver then begins to curse at him and attempted to run him over with no provocation. Both men suffered some injuries due to the incident, but the craziest part of all this is that there was no connection between them at all. The Jeep driver just went crazy.
He showed me a grenade, and he goes, "Don't be scared." And I said, "Okay." I said, "I'm not scared." Kind of freaked me out a little bit.
When you bartend, you have to be prepared to deal with some pretty crazy people. However, having someone pull out a grenade is not something the average beer slinger expects to encounter. This incident took place at Corner Pub in Wilton Manors, Florida. The bartender described the assailant as being pretty agitated.
I was just thinking, like, stay calm because we have a lot of people in there, and, like, this is our community. Do you know what I mean? So I want to keep everybody safe.
He asked for a cocktail and then told him not to be scared before pulling out a grenade and placing it on the bar. To his credit, the bartender did his best to disarm the situation, but the man claimed to have guns in his car as well.
As people started to clear the bar, I used certain intentions to just keep his focus on me while everybody cleared out so that we would be the last ones leaving the bar.
One witness did his best to try to keep the man calm, talking to him about their shared military service while allowing other people in the bar to get out.
He was agitated at somebody in the bar, was looking to pick a fight. He had shown me a grenade immediately as I had shown up. And I had seen this grenade. It looked real. He could be a threat. We don't know how he's feeling. I don't know what was going on. So I grabbed one hand, another arm around his neck. I swept his leg out and just put my full weight on the back of his body so that he could not get up.
He then told the man to come outside with him before tackling him to the ground just as police showed up. The grenade was later discovered to be inactive, but it was a good thing the men reacted the way they did, just in case. We've seen a lot of explosions on this channel, but this might be the biggest yet. The incident took place in Evansville, Indiana, where a gas leak damaged a total of 39 homes and led to 3 deaths. Though some of the homes were completely destroyed, others simply had their windows blown out by the sheer force of the blast. It just goes to show how a single issue, even the common one like a gas leak, can lead to widespread chaos and destruction. The US has been on edge for years now about drag show performances, especially those that involve children as audience members. Putting aside the fact that kids love to dress up, many people think such performances are somehow inappropriate, the man in this video apparently being one of them. Footage shows the man going to a donut shop in Tulsa, Oklahoma that had previously hosted a drag queen art event. After bashing in some of the windows, the man lights a Molotov cocktail and throws it inside, attempting to start a fire. This is the second time in less than a month that the business has been vandalized. Fortunately, the damage wasn't too severe. Golfing isn't the most exciting sport to watch or play, which is probably why so many people decide to combine it with loads of alcohol. Still, having a bunch of people drink with clubs in their hands is not necessarily the best idea.
You weren't even
fucking towards me? Yeah, we made a mistake at close.
Oh my God, what is wrong with you?
In this video, we can see two players at Burnaby Mountain Golf Course in British Columbia getting into an altercation. Just as the person filming the incident dips the camera down, the 43-year-old man in the blue shirt cracks the victim over the head with his club.
Call the cops.
Call RCMP right now. What the we have an issue on number 10. Back away, Nathan. What the Back away. Back away. Call the RCMP right now. Put the club down. RCMP right now. I'm on number.
We can de-escalate this, hey?
17.
We can de-escalate it.
17. Put the club down. RCMP.
All of the other men quickly intervene while the players call the police. The man was later charged with assault and released after posting bail. However, the victim suffered a pretty serious concussion. Okay, back to Russia. This insane and disgusting video shows a massive geyser erupting from an underground pipeline in Moscow. But here's the thing. This isn't Old Faithful. That's right. What you're seeing is a 180-foot high tower of sewage spraying all over the homes and businesses in the area. People who witnessed the event say that the blast reached as high as the 17th story of a nearby building. This isn't the first time Russia suffered a public breakdown of its sewer system, but it was easily the most viral. According to local reports, it took quite some time to completely turn off the flow, and local authorities and cleanup crews spent days trying to contain the damage and minimize health risks to the area's residents. Another beautiful day in New York City. This time, we're treated to one of the Big Apple's famous street people, a naked man charging down the street with a metal pipe. As he continues walking around the busy intersection, he swings the pipe at people who are just minding their own business. Imagine waiting for the bus, reading an article on your cell phone, when you get clocked on the head by a naked man. There doesn't seem to be any explanation for why he's doing what he's doing, and it's unclear whether he's having a mental health crisis, is on drugs, or some combination of the two. The best part is where he throws the pipe at a passing police car, which is about to make a U-turn to come and get him.
Well, yeah, there was people talking like, oh shit, something happened.
This terrifying and depressing footage from Houston, Texas shows a private helicopter colliding with a radio tower and turning into a fiery inferno.
Bro. A helicopter crash, y'all.
Though no homes or structures were actually impacted by the crash or the resulting blaze, 4 people, including 1 child, were killed in the terrible crash, which was witnessed by hundreds of people nearby. The helicopter was operating as an air tour flight, though it is unclear just what the people were attempting to see during the middle of the night.
Nah, this is insane.
Let's go, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Outside the fence. Let's go.
The mountains of western North Carolina were pummeled by a hurricane in late 2024, resulting in flooding, mudslides, and more. This video shows the moment a couple driving near Old Fort dodged a massive mudslide. At first, it's just regular traffic on a rainy day. Then, out of nowhere, a huge torrent of water and dirt comes surging through the right side of the screen. The car is clearly hit by the debris, which knocks out the camera and affects several other vehicles parked by the side of the road. The truly scary part is that this was just one of many such instances that played out over 24 hours in western North Carolina, where getting help is already quite difficult. This viral video shows men from the Wildlife Research Center in Armenia releasing a bear that they'd captured back into the wild. The moment the bear is free of its cage, it immediately begins attacking the men who had just released it. Though this video has often been labeled as the WRC helping the ungrateful bear, some viewers were quick to point out that the organization likely captured the animal for study, poking and prodding at it for days or weeks. As a result, it's sort of hard to blame the animal for being angry, isn't it? Settle in and get comfortable for this one. This footage shows an officer-involved shooting that took place in October of 2024 in Phoenix, Arizona. The incident began when officers were dispatched to a trespassing, with a 911 caller claiming that there was a man in his business who seemed to be impaired and was carrying a large knife.
Phoenix Police, this is... How may I help you?
Hi, I have an individual that's by the... that seems to have drunk, is way too intoxicated. The address is West Glendale Avenue.
Okay.
85051.
Are you an employee there, or security?
I'm security here on the parking lot.
Okay. What does he look like?
He's wearing an American flag cape, shorts with a white shirt on, I believe. I just want to see if I can get an officer to go by and check him out.
Okay. And you need him to move along?
Yeah, because he's not allowed in the...
And what is his race? Is he white, black, Hispanic?
He's a bit white, tan.
How old does he look? 20s, 30s?
He looks young, about 25 or older.
Okay. Could you tell how tall or how thin?
Thin set. He does have a large knife with him, but he's not like waving it around or anything like that.
Okay. Is it like in a pocket or in his hand?
Yeah, it's It's sheathed and it was attached to his belt. But when he was walking around, it was kind of scaring people.
The security officer describes the man as wearing an American flag cape and acting erratically. At first, he says the man isn't waving the knife, but instead just has it sheathed to his belt. For this reason, the police who are dispatched anticipate that they're simply going to be relocating the man. Footage shows the police officers entering a dollar store, where they immediately begin looking for the man. After several seconds of walking around, an employee helps them locate the suspect as he is attempting to exit through the back of a store.
You want to trespass? I think so. Think so? Okay.
I don't know why you keep walking away.
He said he has a knife on his belt. FYI.
Huh? Hey, English police.
Is he just walking?
Should be fine.
Oh, he's walking out the back. Did he steal anything or?
No.
The guy on the walking out the back. We get additional units. Hispanic male, black hair wrapping over his head, black and white checkered shirt.
Hey, English police.
Stop!
Hey,
Stop right now, or you're gonna get
stop
tased.
right now.
The police then spot the man atop some boxes in the storage room, with one of them loading their taser in anticipation of a confrontation.
Mommy.
It's at this point that the man attempts to crawl out of the boxes, but instead uses the distraction to keep running away. The female officer loses her balance in the chase, but the male officer is able to maintain pursuit. He tases the man, who falls to the ground. However, the suspect gets up moments later, knocking the officer's body camera to the ground.
Damn it.
I'm down.
Stay down. Stop grabbing my hand!
Stay down. Down, please, stop!
Give us your hand! Let go of my hand!
It's at this point the female officer and security guard engage the man, who continues to struggle. Finally, the man is tased several more times but refuses to let go of the female officer's hand. It's at this point that the suspect is able to grab the taser and attack the officers with it.
Don't grab my taser!
Okay. Wait, you don't stop. Moments
later, the male officer opens fire, killing the suspect. The officers were taken to the hospital, but both were released and unharmed. In the end, though the man was identified, the police were unable to find any relatives or next of kin. While sad, it just goes to show how quickly things can turn from normal into horrifying in a matter of seconds. Do you ever wonder what it's like to cover one of those high-speed chases from a traffic copter? Well, according to this video, it's basically like a celebrity roast, but with wanted criminals. This footage from California shows a pair of suspects driving through a neighborhood with a whole shrubbery sticking out of the front. As the news anchors mock the group's car, which is literally falling apart, the car comes to a stop, and the people rush out. They frantically attempt to steal another vehicle before giving up and running down the street. It's at this point that the anchors start to take some shots at the portly driver, who is already running out of steam. Seemingly unaware that the police helicopter can still see them clearly, the suspects begin to walk casually, as if they're just out for a nice stroll. The sheriffs show up quickly, and one of the suspects just gives up. Next is the driver, who is now locked in a foot pursuit. He doesn't make it far, but he also refuses to stop when confronted. Finally, he gives up. Hopefully he'll get a chance to work out more in prison.